And for our candidates, do be mindful that if you haven't remuted, you might have a live mic. Madison, are we good to proceed?
I am double checking Facebook Live now, but it looks like we are good to go.
Okay, great. Well, 7:05, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Jones. I'm the chairman of the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the board of directors and our over 500 members, I thank you for your participation in tonight's candidates forum. This is the second in a series of 3 candidates forums we provided for the community, or will provide for the community this year. Our first was in January for the supervisorial race. This is our second for the candidates seeking election to Atascadero City Council. And next week at the same time, October 1st, we'll have the mayoral debate for the 3 candidates seeking election to be Atascadero's mayor. The questions that we'll be offering tonight were generated from the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce membership, the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce Diversity Council, and our Legislative and Economic Council. They were reviewed by a volunteer group of panelists, and we received over a dozen that passed scrutiny, and those will be rotated through so that not all of the same questions will be before the city council, or excuse me, for the mayoral candidates next week. We have 5 candidates and at least 3 questions. If time permits, we could add a 4th, but the order will be alphabetical. So Councilman Barbeau will go first, followed by Mark Dariz. Brett Heineman will be 3rd, Tori Keene 4th, and Nicholas Mattson 5th for the opening statement. And then we'll rotate. So Mr. Dariz will go first on question 1, etc. So everyone will have a chance to go first, to go last, and be somewhere in the middle. So it's an equal distribution. There's no order or no favor to one candidate or the other in the order of the questions they're asked. Tonight, candidates will have a 2-minute opening a 3-minute opening statement. And then once we go through those opening statements, each question will be allowed up to 3 minutes for response, and then a 3-minute conclusionary remark by the candidates. So if I can just have a nod from all the candidates on camera, everyone understands the rules we're going to use tonight. And if anything comes up, it is 2020. We'll make a on-the-spot decision as best as we can to be fair to everyone, and we'll move on so that the members of the Atascadero community get to hear your questions and from you unfiltered. So with that, Madison, if you could go ahead and unmute Councilman Barbeau. Councilmember Barbeau, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
All right, thank you and good evening. I assume everybody can hear me now. Yes, I'm Charles Barbeau. I'm running for re-election. I was elected to the City Council in 2016. By way of background, I was raised in Modesto, California, although I was born in Iowa. But I came to Cal Poly as a transfer student, and I'm one of those folks who never left, or never left for too long. After I graduated from Cal Poly, I went to work immediately for the California National Guard, because I had become a second lieutenant through our OTC at Cal Poly. And I spent a 3-decade career there, and I ended up as the colonel responsible for all the federal property, equipment, money, and contracting for the California National Guard. And then I spent a little time, when I retired from the Guard, I spent a little time as the finance director for the city of SLO, which was very useful in giving me a pretty thorough knowledge of municipal finance. Upon retiring or leaving that, I became a serial volunteer in Atascadero. I've been a police volunteer doing graffiti abatement. I've been on the board of directors of RISE, that runs our women's shelters and sexual assault response services. I've built signs and trails for Loaves and Fishes, and I've been active in the Rotary Club, where I served as club president in 1718. I've been a CASA mentor for foster youth and several other activities that have really just reinforced to me what a wonderful community that we live in and what we can accomplish together when we all stick together. And in those volunteers activities, that's exactly what you see. You see coming together to help out the community. I first moved to Atascadero in 1985 when my wife, Melissa, began a long career of teaching here in Atascadero schools. I should mention in this forum, I'm also a personal member of the Chamber of Commerce because I support the Chamber's activities. I think what's important, for voters to know is, with me being the incumbent, is that I think I'm known on the council for my thorough homework on the issues, for asking thoughtful and probing questions from all angles before making a decision, and therefore for being knowledgeable and being independent, and for bringing a nonpartisan, independent decision-making and a fair-minded decision-making process to my deliberations. I want to stay focused on solving problems for Atascadero, and I think I have that balance of being a moderate in the middle. I'm supported by Heather Moreno on the right and Councilmember Funk on the left. I think I can say that here. And I think that's because they won't always agree with me, but they'll respect my independence and my reasonable, rational approach to decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Then Mr. Darres, you now have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you everyone for having us here. My name is Mark Darres. I am running for City Council here in Atascadero. I came to the Central Coast in 1991 to attend Cal Poly, where I earned my architecture degree. I was also fortunate enough to be able to stay in the area after I graduated and have been practicing locally ever since. I've been self-employed for the past 20 years after working for a couple of firms in San Luis Obispo. My wife and I moved to Atascadero in 2003 as our family began to grow. Our daughter at the time was 8, our son was 3. We heard a lot of good things about the schools and the community, and we look forward to a different climate from the damp and gloomy weather of Los Osos. I mean, it was comfortable, but the evenings were cooler. And I grew up also near Modesto, so the climate's pretty much the same, and it wasn't going to be a big change for me. I actually welcomed it. Around 2008, a neighbor of mine asked me if I would help the local Kiwanis Club redesign the bandstand at the park, which I gladly agreed. And for the first time in my life, I was introduced to real volunteerism, if I can use that as a real word. And as a result, I became a member of the club, served as the president of the club for 1 year, and I'm currently serving as the treasurer. Shortly after joining, I was approached by Tom O'Malley about serving on the Atascadero Planning Commission. That I had never given a thought to doing. I had never given an experience like that a single thought before, but thought it would be an interesting given my professional background. I'd served on the currently now I have served on the Planning Commission for about 10 years, or for 10 years, and became dedicated to contributing to the positive growth of the city. I've taken part in discussions on all major development in the city for the past 10 years. And as a planning commissioner, I'm ready to take that devotion to the next level as your next city councilman. I'm proud of my record on the planning commission with the decisions that I've made and things that have come across, and feel like I've been able to work well with our current and past planning commissioners and got to know the city council well as well, through the years. And I think I could work well with my colleagues at that level as well. I've learned a valuable lesson through my work as, with the city and the Kiwanis Club. First, volunteering is strangely addictive. It is incredibly gratifying to know that I've done something good just for the sake of doing it, not for the recognition. And that, goes to show with the time I spent with Kiwanis and on the planning commission. And, both of those are volunteer. Nobody's getting paid for that. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I seek a seat on the city council.
Seconds.
Oh,
About 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, well, I'm going to jump ahead because I do have something written here. But one of the things that's really important for me is fiscal responsibility. So I will definitely carry that over. I carry it from my personal life, my business, and I think it's important in the city. Open and transparent communication among my colleagues as well, and especially the constituency. It's important to be open about everything and what the city's is doing and how we can help, and to listen. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Darres. Appreciate it. Mr. Heineman, once you start, you'll have 3 minutes. And just when we go forward, and I apologize for not doing this sooner, I'll hold the yellow card up. You're not being yellow carded in soccer, but it's a 30-second warning. So be mindful of that. Mr. Heineman, do we have you?
Yes, I think you do.
Okay, great. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Okay, again, I'm Brad Heineman. I moved here about 49 years ago when I arrived with my parents and completed my education at Trinity Lutheran and Atascadero High School, and moved on to Cuesta College and completed a degree in electronics technology. And my BA was in history and minor political science from Fresno. And that sums up my book learning. My lifelong learning is in writing and sales, and my reasons for running is to help us encourage the economy and fiscal responsibility and public safety, and my understanding of character, education, and values is what I can, such as honesty, integrity, responsibility, truthfulness, to help maintain and encourage the public trust in our city for accomplishing all of our tasks at hand. And I'll reserve and let it go on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Keen, you ready? You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tori Keene, and I'm running for Atascadero City Council. I've lived in Atascadero for 10 years. I moved here from Georgia, and I'm raising my 2 children here. I was on the board of Atascadero AYSO for 6 years, and I also coach my son and daughter. Soccer, I think, is an incredible experience for all children. It's really important because it teaches teamwork and acceptance and creates a bond amongst kids who may not have known each other before. I love that feeling at the end of a season when you've taken 10 kids who didn't know each other, and at the end we're a team and we work together. I acquired my paralegal degree at Cuesta College. I graduated in May, and I'm currently a paralegal at a local law firm. I love working with family law because it makes a real difference in people's lives. I want to be a young, fresh voice on the Atascadero City Council. There are so many things that I love about Atascadero, but the world is different now, and we need a fresh perspective on the council to move forward in new ways. I want to help bring in more affordable housing. I want to help address the homeless community that lives in Atascadero, and I think it's so important that we treat them like the people that they are. We need to treat them with empathy and humanity. I want to bring more environmentally responsible policies to Atascadero as we look to the future, including getting community choice energy to the city council so that we can bring it to Atascadero. I support the 1% sales tax, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more here. It's a really, really important issue, and anyone who supports public safety in Atascadero should support the 1% sales tax. I also want to be a voice for diversity and inclusivity in our city. It's more important than ever to make sure that we are including all voices and opinions when we make decisions for the city. This may mean reaching out to groups and populations that will be particularly affected by certain decisions to make sure their voices are heard. I want to be a voice for those that feel they can't speak up, or help amplify those that feel they are not being heard. Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Quite all right. As a moderator, you were under time, so I appreciate that. You don't have to apologize. Great. And then, Mr. Mattson, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Nick Mattson. I'm very excited and enthusiastic about the 2020 election because whatever is decided by the voters of America, it demands our attention this year. We will witness a referendum one way or the other. I think that our climate nationwide calls for that attention. And it's short-sighted to live as if that Atascadero is an island safe from the whims of a larger body politic. We see the dangers threatening our republic clearly, and we know it's not a foreign war. We have this battle to take to our citizens in our town and in our city to protect everybody who needs attention and do the best for every single person and resident in our community. This is our home, and just as my great-grandfather volunteered for the 1st Minnesota Volunteer Infantry Regiment to fight in the Civil War as an immigrant to the United States, I also volunteer to do my part in the City Council as a voice for the residents of Atascadero, both present and future. And my platform has 3 basic components, which are public safety and security, for every resident and visitor, economic strength and development, and municipal accountability. I'm a local business owner, homeowner, father of 2 school-age boys, youth sports coach, an active member on multiple nonprofits and community activist who helped form the Atascadero Printing Foundation, who founded the Atascadero 4th of July Bluegrass Freedom Festival. I own a local media company that works with hundreds of local businesses and groups in the North County, and I'm dedicating myself to the next term of the Atascadero City Council to strengthen our community for the long term. I serve on multiple boards here in Atascadero and in Paso Robles. I'm a Paso Robles Rotary Club board member and a board member on the Paso Robles Chamber of Commerce. And I work well within a group for the betterment of the business community, the hometown community. And I look forward to lending my energy and my experience to do the same for Atascadero. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson. And so the first question will go to Mr. Derez. And Mr. Derez, you'll have 3 minutes once we unmute you. I'll repeat the question for each candidate. That's the basic question all candidates are asked. What do you see are the most pressing needs for the city of Atascadero and its residents? And how will you address them? You have 3 minutes.
Most pressing needs in Atascadero is not anything that's been new for years and years, and that's economic development. I think it's important that we do what we can to work with developers and work with local businesses and try to bring new businesses into town. We need to have head of household jobs here in town. That would help our economy in our area. Try to keep people, I mean, it would help in a lot of ways too. It help in the environment. If there's less people driving to our neighboring towns to their jobs and be able to stay here, that would help the environment. But I think mainly I want to work with, I want to see that the city staff and the council is going to work with developers and business owners that are, reach out to bring to our town, the Del Rio project redevelopment is, which was just passed the other day, the new design. And I think that's going to be a big step forward. La Plaza is going to be a big enhancement to downtown. I think that's going to help our businesses locally in downtown that are already there, and hopefully bring them back to life once COVID gets us, once we're able to get back to normal after the shutdown with that. But I think that's what's important, and I want to work hard with our local businesses and be business friendly, and just build our business in town as much as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Heineman, you have up to 3 minutes. The question to you is the same as to Mr. Derez. What do you see are the most pressing needs facing the city of Atascadero, and how will you address them?
Yeah, I would say the economy definitely needs work ongoing. It's a continual project. Let's understand part of this is our major source of employment in this city is the Atascadero State Hospital, the Atascadero Unified School District, and all the home-based people that work in and from their home, including all the service and contractors and work online people and sales, and that's besides our dedicated people who have storefronts in town and work with those. So we need a stronger job base to have a stronger economy to build up so that people can afford to stay here. Second, one reason we could look toward more technology businesses, and that's summing it up for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Heineman. Ms. Keene, the same question to you. What do you see are the most pressing needs facing the city of Atascadero, and how will you address them? You have 3 minutes.
Well, I absolutely agree that we need economic development. I don't think that's under debate at all. That's how we fund the city. I think that we also need to address the homelessness issue. We need more affordable housing, not only for those people who don't have a home at all, but to support the businesses that we want to come in. We want to be able to have housing so that people can work and live in Atascadero. So not only that, but economic development is something that's changed fundamentally. The world has changed. We're never going to go back to normal. We have to be able to be adaptable as we move forward. I think the Del Rio plan is great because it shows that we are flexible. We are opening up new opportunities for businesses that we haven't even thought of yet. And that's how we need to move forward. We can't just plan for businesses that we want today. We have to plan for the future, for 10 years, 20 years down the road. So when the general plan comes up for revision this next year, we need to think about what do we need now, but also how do we plan for the future for things that we haven't even thought of yet.
Does that conclude your remarks? Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Mattson, the same question to you. You'll have 3 minutes. And that is, what do you see are the most pressing needs facing the city of Atascadero, and how will you address them?
Thanks, Tom. Well, the three that I have are my main platform. That's public safety and security, economic strength and development, and municipal accountability. And it starts with safety. And it's an old axiom, safety first. And when we have a development and a city and a community that is built and safe and secure, it will invite those businesses that want to grow their business long-term to know that Atascadero is a place where they can do that. You have unsafe environments around this country that are driving businesses out. That's opportunity is twofold. One, there are businesses in America who are looking for places to go. Now, California does make that a little bit more difficult than other places, and that's why we see a lot of business leave California right now. We want to try to solve both of those problems by making Atascadero a place where somebody who has the long-term investment capability to look at us as a place where they want to grow not only their business, but their family and their home base. So we have a lot of attractive elements to that. We are close to the coast. We are central to California. We have direct lines to major municipalities and metropolitan areas. We have lanes to the Central Valley and Fresno and Bakersfield. We've got a lot going for us. We need to definitely market that and make sure that that's top of mind for everybody who's looking for a new home. That safety and security kind of goes into one. Really have a plan for those new businesses, have a direction for our local economy and the community, that they know we are on an upswing. That we over the past 10 years, we've done a great job getting a lot of discount stores, discount shopping in Atascadero to meet the needs of a lot of shoppers. I think it's time to start looking at the other angle there and raising the level of economics and standards that we want to have for a community so that we attract some higher end businesses that want to invest in us to create those long-term stable jobs, head of household jobs that can make a difference in our future. We got to think long-term. We got to think good, long, and hard. We got to put the leg work into it and our back into it. It's not an easy job. And the third is municipal accountability, keeping the business and the city within its means, using those resources, the thin resources that we have in a great way to make sure that we're doing the best for those taxpayers that are funding all of us at the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councilman Barbeau, will you close out this question, please? And once again, it is, what do you see are the most pressing needs facing the city of Atascadero, and how will you address them? You have 3 minutes.
Well, I would start off with talking about economic development, but I think Mark DeRiz did a pretty good job of explaining that. And it is critical to our future. It is the single most important thing we can do to try to fix our biggest problem, which is the jobs housing imbalance. Because every day we send thousands of residents, mostly over the grade, driving by themselves to go work in San Luis Obispo, a place that has, was served up 4 aces in economic development with a county seat, the airport, university, and a lot of high paying jobs at the prison. And then for decades, there's refused to build housing, although they've done a good job the last few years trying to fix that. And so, you know, we don't have those attributes that automatically drive economic development to our doorstep. So we have to be more proactive and more receptive in terms of thinking about what we can do to make it easy and make it attractive for businesses to come here. And I've tried to do that while I've been on the council, and try to make sure we remove any impediments we can, but also foster them coming here and not putting new obstacles in their way. So that's really critical because you need to have a balanced city. It also is important for our residents to have more shopping opportunities as well as the opportunities to work here. And in doing that, we needed to look at some alternatives for new housing for folks. I love having acreage, but that's not everybody's cup of tea, and nor can young families typically afford a house on acreage here. So I'm very open to us having more apartments especially in the downtown area, on second and third floor, maybe even allow a fourth floor, to give our downtown some substance, some physical form where people say, oh, that's downtown Atascadero, that jumpstart businesses downtown. So again, it all goes back to economic development being critical to our ability to function as a city. But even doing all that, we live in the Amazon age, the post-retail age, or in terms of normal retail as we used to know it. Our financial sustainability is really the crux of the matter, and that's why we need the sales tax. And we can talk more about that later, because a bedroom community housing does not pay for itself financially. Anybody in municipal finance will tell you that, because all you get is property tax, and you only get 17% of what folks pay in a property tax comes back to the city. So again, that redoubles the importance of economic development, but also you need, as a bedroom community, an alternative source of revenue. And we can talk about that when we get into the sales tax measure. Thank you.
Thank you. So that completes our first rounds of questions. We have a couple more to go, and we're trending a little fast. So if the time allows, we'll seek consensus from the 5 candidates to ask an additional question presented from our membership. So the second question, Mr. Dares, you'll start with: how do you see yourself as a council member furthering the work of diversity, equity, inclusion in city matters?
I went first on the first question, but I
Oh,
guess.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Heineman, you'll have the question first.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to repeat the question again?
Sure. So how will you see yourself as a council member furthering the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion in city matters?
I'll use my understanding of character and values. Like I said, on my honesty, integrity, responsibility, trust, truthfulness, key values which allow you to integrate all that opinions to make a decision. Willingness to open and understand and research the problems and our perspectives. And I will say thank you for now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Heineman. So, Mr. King, the same question to you, up to 3 minutes. And again, the question is, how do you see yourself as a council member furthering the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion in city matters?
Well, I think the first way is that I will be another woman on the city council. As Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, women belong wherever decisions are being made. And it's really important that we make sure that we have women on the city council. We have some wonderful women on there now, and I will continue to further that. I think it's also really important to make efforts to physically reach out to groups. I don't think we can wait for them to come to us. We need to make sure that we are reaching out to groups like Race Matters Slow to make sure that we're bringing them into conversations, because while it's easy to say that everyone is welcome, sometimes it doesn't feel that way. So as a city council member, I will make an effort to make contact with those groups. There's also an NAACP chapter that's based in San Luis Obispo, and it's important to reach out to them as well, because while we are just one city in the county as a whole can work together to include more people. I would also like to see more diversity on the city council itself. So I'd really like to reach out to people to run in 2 years, find people who would make the city council more diverse and encourage them to run as well. The more diverse we can make our city council, the more different perspectives we can bring in, and the better our city will be. The other thing that we can do is to make sure that we are supporting groups in Atascadero that do community work that help diverse groups. It's really important that as a city council member, you don't just sit on the city council, but you involve yourself in the community groups. Charles is very involved. I've reached out, I've worked with ECHO and the soccer association, and that has really allowed me to meet a lot of people I wouldn't normally meet. And as a city council member, it's important to be open and available for everyone in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Mr. Mattson, the same question to you. How do you see yourself as a council member furthering the work of diversity, equity, inclusion on city matters?
Thanks for correcting that, Tom. You know, I would start with the city council. I think that diversity and equity and balance is important. Right now we have 4 women on a 5-person city council. I think that adding some balance to that by voting a man onto the council would be a good start there. My background in history is one that is inclusive. My staff at our business, we have a number of freelancers, all ages, colors, sizes, and shapes. You know, to build the community voice for the community by publishing a magazine or a newspaper, you have to be open to new ideas. You have to be willing to listen to people and have those conversations. Sometimes they're hard conversations. Sometimes we'll print things that people don't agree with, and you have to be able to listen and have civil conversations around topics that some people might find to be uncomfortable. Those types of things don't scare me. I invite conversations. I've invited people who disagree with us. When we print something and it gets blasted on Facebook, the first thing I do is reach out and say, hey, come here and let's talk about it. You know, I met a young lady who is a Chumash descendant who took great exception to some things that we printed. And I was able to make a friend out of that. And that's the kind of thing that you don't always win on your first one, but you continue to be open to conversation and move the conversation forward in a way that makes for a better community. That's the type of community that we are. You know, a mentor of mine, Don Clickard, has taught me a lot about knowing how to listen to people, how to engage people in a respectful manner. And, you know, I've learned so much from my wife in terms of how to listen, how to communicate. And these are tools that they apply across the board, no matter where you're from or who you are. You know, we can build an Atascadero that is, that when people see that city hall, one thing I'd love is that when people see that city hall, they don't just see a beautiful building, but they see a place where everybody is safe. And I would love to have a community that represents that as the icon of our city, that city hall and that beautiful icon, if anybody sees it anywhere in California or around the world, that it means something to them, that would be a nice place to start. So, you know, however it goes, it starts with a conversation. It starts with thinking outside the box. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson. And Councilman Barbeau, the same question to you. How do you see yourself as a council member furthering the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion in city matters? You have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. One thing that just comes to my mind when Nick mentioned that right now I'm the only male on the council. You know, I was briefly on the city council in the mid 80s, in 87 and 88. And it was a majority female council at that time as well. So Atascadero has a kind of a long history of that. As well as I would point out, Atascadero also, I believe, was the first city in this county to have a African-American police chief. So I think this overall is a welcoming community. However, you always are going to have, as we saw recently in a video, you're always going to have some dumbasses who, who have, I guess in some ways, racism is an illness of the mind. And you're always going to have people who think that way and act that way. One of the things we can do, and I know the chamber has a diversity council, and I'm interested in seeing some of the ideas that they put forward, is that we can just reach out more. I think most of us, the vast majority of us in this community are white, and we probably don't have a lot of Black friends or associates, and we need to reach out to those. And I've done that recently with former colleagues of mine from the National Guard. As many of you probably know, the military is one of the best integrated institutions in America. And I found that, generally this is a very welcoming community, but people still do encounter problems. And we just need to be open to listening to people about what issues they are encountering and what, if anything, can we as a city do about that? Because we can't fix what's in the heart and minds of all people. And I don't believe in taking just symbolic actions because that's a particular action might be catching on everywhere. I don't believe in doing that just for the sake of doing it. I want to look at, okay, how does this contribute to, people feeling welcome and being able to do everything in their life that all of us expect to be able to do without discrimination or without feeling put upon and that sort of thing. So I think the key is being open-minded and reaching out to people we might not otherwise talk to in our life, and find out how things are them, because from our own perspective, things can seem great. And we need to do a better job of reaching out. But so I guess with your yellow card there, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Darius, you have the same question in 3 minutes. And again, for a reminder, the question is, how do you see yourself as a council member furthering the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion in city matters?
Well, I certainly would encourage city staff or in the council to further diversity as much as we can. I mean, I'm not going to discourage it. That would be foolish. I want to see as many people involved in city activities, from employees to youth sports as much as possible, and reach out to groups that maybe feel underrepresented to know that they are welcome to join in every part of our city. And like Charles says, we are a predominantly white community, and maybe there are pockets of our community that feel left out for whatever reason. And if that is the case, then we need to address that. We need to address if there's inequities or inclusion issues that's happening in our city, then we need to reach out to these people, and we need to do our part to ease that problem and not let it happen. Now, I would caution that hiring for the sake of diversity, I think in some cases is not necessarily the wisest ways to go. And I'm going to be more specific. If I call 911 and have a police or fireman need to help me out, I don't care what color the man or woman is that's helping me. I want to make sure that particular person is going to be qualified. But certainly, if there's we're going to be hiring a police chief here shortly. And if it ever comes out that coaches or city staff or police officers or police chiefs or whatever are turned away because of their diversity or their differentness, then that is not going to. I'm not going to let that stand. That's not going to get by me very well. So, like I say, I encourage the diversity. I encourage people of all walks of life to be to all come together as one. I mean, that's always been important to me. I look at a group of people in a room. If they all look different, I see them all as people, and I want to encourage that mentality. Again, like Charles said, it's a state of mind that I can't exactly remember how he said it, but it's a dangerous state of mind to have that, and I want to see that fixed as much as we can, and how we can reach out to our community to include everybody as equal and diverse I think is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dares. Appreciate that. We'll move to our third question, which will begin with Ms. King. And that is the probably much weighted question by all candidates about the sales tax. And so the voters of Atascadero face an important decision on the November ballot, Measure D20, a 1% sales tax increase to support city services. What's your position on Measure D20 and why? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Tom. My position on D20, I've already stated, I fully support it. This isn't just for the police. This is for our entire city. It's for the fire station that is 70 years old. It's for hiring more people so that we can keep our neighbors safe. We've heard from the president of the police union, Ron Overacker, that they are understaffed and unable to respond to all the calls because they have to decide what's the most important. That's not okay. That's not a way to run a city. If we truly want a safe city, we have to support the police. Now, I understand that there's a lot going on with the police right now. So I think that it's important to state that that our police and that they are starting programs and continuing programs that aren't just about law enforcement. They just started a program with a mental health professional that is individually treating homeless problems that may seem small to us, but are really big to them. And that is a program that we absolutely need to support. Even if you don't fully support the police, they are doing good work. And with the passing of the 1% sales tax, we could afford to grow that program so that we could help more people. And that's really what it's about. So not only is it the police, but it's also the fire department. The fire station, the #1 fire station, it's not earthquake safe. Every time there's an earthquake, our firefighters have to run out of the building. That's not okay. Not only that, but they need equipment. And as climate change happens, we are going to be in danger of having more fires. We have to make sure that they are properly staffed, properly trained, that we have an evacuation plan, and all of that costs money. So if we're really about public safety, we have to pass this. It's not an option. We are the lowest funded city in the county. In fiscal year 2017, 2018, we brought in $332 per capita in property taxes and only $133 per capita in sales tax. That's not enough money to run our city. So I urge everyone to support this sales tax. I know taxes aren't popular. I know it's hard right now, but if we want to invest in the future of Atascadero, we have to give more money to our city services. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Next, we'll go to Mr. Mattson. The same question for a 3-minute answer, which is, the voters of Atascadero face an important decision on the November ballot, Measure D20, a 1% sales tax increase to support city services. What's your position on Measure D20 and why?
Thank you, Tom. With public safety and security being my #1 platform position, I completely understand the need for that. I don't find that the city budget is going to fall off a cliff in the next 2 years, but I do find that their presentation of the sales tax did not instill the confidence in our community that the community was looking for from this proposal, from this measure. And I would rather, we know we have the public safety has the fire department involved. But I want to light a fire under the butts of our city and get us all behind raising our level of economic industry. Back in 2008, the city spent a whole lot of money to come up with a plan on how to engage in economic vitality. And those 3 legs of that were retail, tourism, and industry. And I ran on a similar platform in 2016 when I ran for mayor, is that should be taken considerably. The industries that we have are the Atascadero State Hospital, PG&E, the school system, and the city municipality. Those are great and they have sustained us, but we need to invest in and get behind the idea that we want to have a community of the future. And we want to I want the city to be motivated toward that and not relax because we've raised taxes to pay for the bills that we need. I want them to be motivated and everybody geared up. Personally, as a business owner, as an investor in this community, I want to see us moving forward in that direction. And I've talked to a lot of business owners, especially the small business owners who are investing in the curb appeal, investing in their downtown, and they're not for this sales tax. So if we're going to be for it, I say let's be for it on every level. And if the small businesses are not for it, then I think we have a problem there. So I know it's a tax that's going to go before the voters, and that's what I'm happy about. I'm glad that we put it on the ballot as it is, because the voters are going to get a chance to talk to it and speak to it. I don't have the confidence from what I've heard and seen so far that it will pass. That's just a reality we're going to have to face at the polls. But if the city and the voters do vote for it, then let's go for it. Let's make sure we use that with accountability and municipal accountability to make sure that we are doing everything where we don't have this problem come and face us again. And I'll be for it, and I will make sure that the money goes to where it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson. Councilmember Barbeau, the same question to you. The voters of Atascadero face an important decision on the November ballot. Measure D20, a 1% sales tax to support city services. What's your position on D20 and why?
There you go. It wasn't letting me unmute. All right,
I'll
thank
restart
you.
the clock. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I think a couple things are important to point out. You know, Mr. Mattson made the assertion that, you know, if this doesn't pass, it's not like the budget's going to fall off the cliff. And he's half correct about that. But the problem is you're going to see a continuation of what has happened. And that is our revenues are very low, as Tori noted, the lowest in the county per capita. And as a result, we have the lowest level of staffing in the county as well. And we have pretty much the lowest pay scale as well. And what's happened as a result of that is we have fewer police officers today than we did 5,000 or 6,000 residents ago. And so, no, it won't fall off the cliff. Our police department does an amazing job with what they have, and they'll continue to struggle to do that, but it'll be harder and harder for them to do that. You won't see a cliff, but you'll see a continued deterioration in services. You'll see the kind of things Tori referred to. You can have a 70-year-old fire station that becomes an 80-year-old fire station. You're going to have unfunded pension liabilities that continue to grow. And while, frankly, they are too big, they are required under current law and have got to be paid. And we need to set aside some money for that. We need to set aside money for equipment. And those things don't happen in a revenue-constrained city. So in the long run, it's penny wise and pound foolish to be opposed to this tax. And I think most businesses see that. And I'll give you a perfect example. It was put in the paper in several news outlets today about Paso Robles not doing so well in their fire rating by ISO, the insurance organization. And based on that, insurance companies will raise rates on residents, homeowners, businesses in communities that get lower ratings. Our folks did very well. I mean, they did just slightly better than Paso on some of the things, which is incredible given our constraints. But, you know, it's penny wise and pound foolish to say, well, gee, I'm afraid to pay, you know, $100 a year more in sales tax and then turn around and have to pay $200 or $300 more a year on homeowners or business insurance because you don't have the kind of fire department you'd like to have. And in terms of attracting new businesses, you need to have a strong police department. You need to have strong fire department. You need to have strong public works. And saying, oh, you know, bragging about being the cheapest city in the county isn't what's going to get that. I mean, I will brag about us being the cheapest city in the county in the sense that if I lived in one of those other communities, I might say, why do you need a sales tax when Atascadero can do more with less? But our folks, they do a good job, but we're asking voters to make a strategic decision that as a bedroom community, you need more revenue to make things work. Thank you.
Thank you. And over to Mr. Darras, the same question, and to repeat it, the voters of Atascadero face an important decision on the November ballot. Measure D20, a 1% sales tax increase to support city services. What's your position on Measure D20 and why?
Okay, this one was a difficult one for me when it first came to light to me, because it was 6 1 half dozen other almost. Then I'll break that down a little bit more. First of all, the best thing is that's on the ballot for the voters to decide. This certainly should not be something that 5 people should be making a decision on. So if any of the council members had been opposed to it from the beginning, then that would have been a bad thing. So whether any of them are opposed to it, it's where it needs to be. So that part I support 100%. I'm glad that it's there. When this first came to the city council's attention, when they first discussed it, it was last October, November, I believe. Times have changed significantly since then. The reasoning back then, and the reason it hasn't changed for the 1% sales hike, is for the funds, the added funds, and they estimate to bring them to about $4.5 million, is to go to our emergency services. We are understaffed and underpaid. As Charles said, with the number of police officers that we have the same number of officers on a shift today that we did in 1980, and certainly we have a significant more residents living in our city. So there is the safety factor, the safety issue, and certainly safety is a very important thing to me. Real quick, brief thing about myself is long before I was injured, I was going to training to be a police officer. So I do feel for them, and I want to make sure that they are taken care of. So with the COVID thing and the shutdown and people pinching pennies, and including the city and everything, the last thing I wanted to see was telling people it's going to cost them more to go shopping. And then with the whole defund the police mentality that's happening around the country, saying that I oppose it, I'm like, well, that sounds like I want to defund. Absolutely not. If anything, I think our police need to have more money. So I went back and forth on, what's the best thing for this? If we're short term, if our economic development works as we plan, then maybe we don't need this to be a 1 cent sales hike forever. I would have liked to have seen a sunset on it. I'm concerned that it's going into the general fund and that there's no guarantee that the funds are going to go to our emergency services as promised. If the makeup of the city council should change over time, in whether it's 2 years, 6 years, whatever it may be, and priorities shift, then none of this money might not go to our emergency services, and I have an issue with that. But because I talked with Ron Overback and we had a long conversation, I support the police department. They are in dire straits. So with that being said, I will vote yes on this measure.
Great, thank you for your answer. And Mr. Heineman, the question to you, the same question, is on the sales tax initiative. And that question is, the voters of Atascadero face an important decision on the November ballot, Measure D20, a 1% sales tax increase to support city services. What's your position on Measure D20 and why? You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's one of many important measures on the ballot. And I'll thank my colleagues in the competition for a very good discussion up to now. Now it's my turn. Now, I personally am not comfortable with the measure because it will, since the COVID-19 virus situation, it'll risk the danger of further undermining consumer confidence and probably not generate the revenue that we are hoping for. Hopefully I'm wrong, but if it passes, we will use the money wisely, but we should not let the measure sidetrack us from the need for economic development. That is the key in this community. and our job base for the future, children and grandchildren. In Jesus' name, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our questions for this evening, and we do have a longer closing for our candidates. So you have up to 5 minutes, not the 3 that we've been using. And Mr. Mattson, you can begin our closing in our rotation. You have up to 5 minutes to speak to the voters and the membership of the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce on why you should serve on our city council.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I'll start with the diversity. You know, we are a community of diversity, and that isn't just a black and white issue. It's really just a human issue. It's a faith issue. It's a belief issue, and it's a conversational issue. It's also a dialectic issue. You know, we need to have the conversations that are difficult to have to move our community forward. And what that means as a member of the city council is we're faced with those difficult decisions and difficult conversations that we need to have across the board. I feel I bring a sound and grounded voice and mind and heart to our city council, and I would serve well. We are working toward making the community better, and we're working with a vast quantity of unknown factors. We got to answer 3 questions here tonight, and I think they were valuable. I certainly appreciated the input and the perspectives of the other candidates. And you know, we're all part of the bigger picture. I feel that I can serve our council by helping the city direct resources, direct attention to where it needs to go. And so when you are casting your vote, and when anybody casts a vote, especially if there's young people listening tonight, and I sure hope there are, that your vote is not a purchase. You are not making a purchase with your vote, and it's not a transaction, and it's definitely not a weapon. And what it is a threat of accountability. And it's what we have as a republic, a constitutional republic, to hold our municipalities accountable. The city council being a oversight committee for a city that has a tremendous amount of pressure upon itself to serve the community. And I take that responsibility very seriously as a potential candidate and as a candidate for city council. And I will do my best to serve you, to serve the city of Atascadero, the businesses, the residents, the visitors that come here, those that are unborn, that will be taking the reins from us in 30 years. And we want to make sure that we have a city that has not only just survived, and what I really want to move Atascadero out of, being that I grew up here since 1978 and grew up, graduated from Templeton High School, came back here in 2006. That was right before the wine country really exploded. Atascadero was so quiet and so cute for me at the age of 27. I knew I wanted to raise my family here. It's been a great decision so far, but we are facing things that we need to take seriously. And whether or not we decide that we're going to go with the sales tax or not, that's a fix for a problem that we need to solve. We need to solve the problems in Atascadero and not find Band-Aids for them. So I totally appreciate both sides of the tax issue, but I'm going to dedicate, whether or not we have that tax issue, I'm going to dedicate to make sure that we solve these problems that are underlying, that are causing us to need to resort to Band-Aids. So that's what I'm really excited about, being a part of the city council over the next 4 years. I will assure you that I'll take accountability for my part. I will hold our municipality accountable for ensuring a safe, sustainable, and healthy community. And that journey begins with a single step in the right direction. And the shortest distance is a straight line. I'm somebody who knows where I want to go with this. I'm only giving you who I am, what I am, and what I have to offer. I will promise to live up to those things that are in my platform. I promise to live up to the conversations that need to be had to make sure that this community is great as it can be, that city hall becomes an icon of safety and security and a place where people want to call home, to raise our property values, to raise our business acumen, and have a place that people can be proud of. It's a great community already, and we all know that. So I'm just going to work to make sure that I do what I can to take another step forward You know, I want to take meaningful steps toward making the community better over the next 4 years. And we can all do that with a vote for Nicholas Mattson on November 3rd. And I sure hope that I can get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson. In rotation, we'll go to Councilman Barbeau. The same question or same opportunity. You have 5 minutes for your closing statement to speak to our membership and the voters of Atascadero.
All right, thank you, and thank you all for attending. I think I saw we had up to 60 people at one point or something like that. And again, you know, as the incumbent, I'm asking you to continue me in office. So I have to base it on what I've done and how I approach the position. And again, you know, I have support from both Mayor Moreno, Councilmember Funk, and I think it's reflective of how I approach the job. You know, I take each thing as it comes. And so at one point I'll vote for allowing us certainly to consider and endorse community choice energy, because I think that provides two things: choice and the opportunity to save money. And if we don't do that, we're depriving our citizens of the opportunity to save money. And I do something like that, or vote to allow more, be more open to cannabis related businesses. And then people accuse me of being a closet liberal, and then I'll vote for certain development projects that I feel strongly were well thought out and you know, and complementary to the city. And I think not allowing them undermines our business friendly atmosphere. And so I'm generally pro-development. I like to see things get built and improve our community. So I do some things like that, and people think I'm a closet conservative. And as I've told some groups, I'm a proud out of the closet moderate. That's my nature, is to be a moderate. And I think people know it. Again, I do my homework, etc. One of the things I wanted to address, brought up on the tax issue, and that is accountability. And people have talked about, well, you need a committee and you need this and that. And I would remind everybody, you elect 5 council members. That's what democracy is about. And if 5 years from now, or 8 years, or 12 years from now, or 4 years from now, our citizens want to elect a council that is all, you know, completely far left or completely far right, that's their prerogative. And if that council then wants to change priorities because they were elected by the citizens and they're the only folks in town elected by the citizens, then that's what accountability is. It amazes me that we you know, dislike government being inefficient, and then our idea of accountability is to create another committee. That does not make sense to me. I just want to underscore again the importance of, you know, electing people who you think are going to do their homework, be thorough, and be independent and reasonable. And I think that's what I try to do, and I think I'm recognized for that by different folks. And I love doing this. I'm a policy wonk. I don't mind sitting up there and talking for 2 hours or listening for 2 hours about septic tanks and sewer systems. And some people run for city council, don't realize that's part of what you have to do. But I enjoy public service in terms of volunteering. I enjoy the position, and that's why I'm not taking any contributions. I'm running a lean campaign, if you will. I'm not taking any donations from anyone, reserve my independence. And I'm in a position, fortunately, where I donate my salary, council salary, to good causes in our community. So thank you for listening. I hope I can garner your vote in just 5 weeks from now, coming up on November 3rd, or by November 3rd, I'd say. Thank you.
You have more time, but you cut out and we muted you. So Madison, could you go back to Mr. Barbeau? He has 1 minute and 40 seconds left.
I just wanted to mention, and maybe all the candidates would, their website. You can learn more and go by going to charlesforatascadero.com, and that's the number 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Darris, the same opportunity for you. You have up to 5 minutes for your closing statement to speak to our membership and the voters of Atascadero.
Okay, well, thank you once again for hosting this and having us speak to the community. And I was happy to see that we had 60 people on the Zoom, and I'm sure we have a lot of other people on Facebook listening. As I said in my opening statement, I moved here in 2003, so I've been here about 17 years. I'm happy to say that my address here in Atascadero is the longest address I've had in at any place I've lived, and so I feel as connected to Atascadero as I have any other place I've ever lived. And then, like I say, about 10 years ago, starting with my introduction to Kiwanis, and as a result, almost immediately into the Planning Commission, volunteering for the city, doing lots of community involvement stuff. You know, the planning commission got me on the design review committee. I'm on the RTAC for our buses in San Luis or for our county. It's just, it goes on and on. It just seems like one thing led to another. And the more I got an opportunity to do, the more I enjoyed doing it and increasing that connection to the city. I'm proud of my record on the planning commission. Like I said, I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm the current chairman of the committee. I chaired it 5 years ago as well. We've seen lots of projects come through and lots of development happening through, and now we're seeing the La Plaza. I'm so happy to see that happening. That's going to transform our downtown. And I think it's just, I mean, if you haven't been here in 10 years and you come back and see that, you're not going to recognize Atascadero, and I'm really happy to see that. I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, my professional background. I believe that my professional background, because economic development is such an important thing in our city, with my professional background as an architect and fiscal responsibility, my responsibility to my clients on how they spend their money, on how things are done, is so important. I mean, that carries over from my personal life to my business to my clients, and that's the kind of thing that is going to carry over for me as a city councilman. Fiscal responsibility is one of the most important things, especially for Atascadero, because we are a poor city, but not a poor community, as Charles said. We're always having to watch how funds are used and where the funds are going to come from. Our staff and our councils in the past have done a great job, and I want to see that continue. So I think with my background as a business owner, as understanding development, I think I can lend a good eye as a city councilman to our city, and continue the development, continue the growth, and help Atascadero become a success, continuing to succeed as much as possible. So again, my name is Mark Darras. I am running for city council. I hope I can get your support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Darras. Mr. Heineman, you have the floor. You have up to 5 minutes for your conclusionary remarks to speak to our membership and the voters on why you should serve on Atascadero City Council.
Yes, and conclude my Christian faith and understanding of character and values, and will add to the diversity on the council and making decisions for the future as we plan our economic development and our concerns of public safety and fiscal responsibility. I've got a story about 3 cities in the past. One was known for its cold drinking water coming from mountain springs, which was how it was known for, and that was good. And another had a hot mineral springs, which made it good for therapeutic reasons, and it was known for that. And the third community that had a well, not much, had a lukewarm water. It could keep you alive, but that's about it. Not known for much of else. As we plan for Atascadero in the future, in the economy, public safety, and come up with a city that's known for its usefulness, as those other 2 cities are, and not just a lukewarm community in the middle. And I will look forward to your vote in the future. Thank you in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Mr. Heineman. And Ms. Keene, you will be closing out our candidate comments tonight to the voters and the membership of the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce. You have the floor and you have 5 minutes.
Saving the best for last, Tom. I started off my campaign asking how we as a community could invest in Atascadero, and I've learned so much from the people I've spoken with and from being on the planning commission for a year and living in Atascadero for 10 years. I love this town. It is my home. I moved here 10 years ago, like I said, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. It's beautiful, and the sense of community is just heartwarming. If there is anyone in need in this town, there is a group that will step up to help, and that is great. But right now, our city is the one that needs help. We have problems in Atascadero. Everybody knows it. And we need people who are willing to think outside the box on how to solve those problems. First is, of course, the sales tax, but it's not just about the sales tax. It's about how do we spend that money the best to invest in the future of Atascadero. If we invest in our police now, then we make our city safe for years to come. If we invest in the economy, then we make our city vibrant for years to come. We're investing in the El Camino project so that we can make a safe crossing and a vibrant downtown for years to come. We need people who love this city on the city council. But not only that, we need people who can make good decisions, informed decisions, people who will make the effort to go out of their comfort zone, to talk to people they wouldn't normally talk to get information, to make the best decisions for Atascadero. I really think that I am that person. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. I love hearing their perspectives. And I want to bring all of that to the city council. See, when you're voting for me, you're not just voting for me. You're voting for someone who will amplify your voice on the city council. When you come and you talk at the public meetings, I will listen. If you talk to me on the street, I will listen, and I will take what you say to the city council chamber. I think everyone up here, all the candidates, all love Atascadero for one reason or another. And I think that's great. That's what we need. But I love the Atascadero of today and the Atascadero of the future that my children will be living in. See, whenever I make a decision, I think about how it affects them, their schoolmates, and their friends. That's what we need to think about. We need to think about our children. We need to make sure that we have affordable housing for them when they graduate college and they want to come raise children here. We need to think about how to attract new jobs so that when they graduate college, they have a place to come and work and play. So when you get your ballot in the mail, look for Tori Keene. I'll be number 5 on the ballot. And I think keeping a female majority on the city council is one of the best things we can do for the town. So you can learn more about me at votetorikeene.com. I've also got a Facebook page. If you send me an email, I will answer you, and I want to hear from you. So vote Tori Keene, and let's invest in Atascadero for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes what we're going to hear from our candidates tonight. I just want to start by thanking all 5 candidates for your thoughtful participation in tonight's discussion, and let you know and our viewers know that we had over 80 folks participating tonight, which is a big number in the COVID era, and will be available for rebroadcast on the Atascadero Chamber website. So you can push it to your supporters, and we'll be pushing it out to our members so that the over 500 members of the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce will get to see your statements. So again, thanks to the candidates for their participation tonight. And in closing, on behalf of the over 500 members, I'd like to also thank our volunteers that put this together, again, on our Diversity Council, our Economic and Legislative Council, and our Board of Directors. Thank you very much, and have a good night.